Welcome back, my friends. So glad you're back here on the Hippie Moms podcast. And today we are so lucky to be with Helen Knight. Helen, welcome.
Thank you, Becky. Great to be here with you.
I'm so glad you're here. I'm really excited about this conversation. And Helen, you're a medicine woman. You really bring a lot to this world. And give us an idea of how your life path led you to this moment. And then what we'll do is we'll circle around kind of where you're at now and talk about the gifts and all the things that we have to share with our guests.
Okay. Well, it all started when I was living in Chile I was teaching English down there to children, kids, and I got sick. I was 33 years old, felt like I was 93, exhausted, had to have a nap every day. And I was like, this is just not normal. Medical doctors could not give me an answer. I discovered Reiki when I was down there, blew me away. Like, it was so impactful.
Some people might not know what Reiki is. We just expand on that just because I don't want to get too far off.
Right. Reiki is hands-on healing. I mean, you can do it remotely. I do all my sessions now remotely, but and it's basically universal love. But you set intentions, you have your hands, and it works with the chakra systems, energy centers in our bodies. And you set intentions, and the beautiful, loving energy helps clear, heal, activate whatever your intentions are. Make you feel much better.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you discovered Reiki.
Reiki. Then I moved to Australia, did my master's, got a job teaching Waldorf kindergarten, which I did not know that Waldorf kindergarten is very spiritual. And that was an aspect of my spiritual path. I was not spiritual before that. And then being out there, I started studying Reiki and my whole spiritual path started opening up. All these crazy things started happening with the animals and feathers and dreams. And I didn't understand any of it, but I listened, and the Reiki really helped as I continued to study. Then I was guided to move to Boulder, Colorado. I'd been abroad for 17 years, and I took a couple of years, but I then was guided to become a healer, and starting with the Reiki. And then it developed into cacao ceremonies as well. And then Spirit had me in training for then going into leading plant medicine ceremonies in the beginning of 2020.
Wow. Yeah. And so you found yourself in this place, but was that it? Like you found it. This is it. This is what you're doing. And then what happened?
Oh no, it always evolves. Things change. Yeah. So I had a rock bottom moment, I would say last November. I had led a ceremony. I'd been leading plant medicine ceremonies in Taos, Mexico, where I live, and Boulder, Colorado, and anywhere between 1 and 3 a month. And that's a lot. And I got tapped out. I was so overwhelmed. I've been doing it all. It's me. It's a lot of energy to hold. My body was screaming at me, and I'd been trying to balance it. I didn't ignore it, but I got to the point where I can't do this anymore. But I'm a healer and I'm a medicine woman. And what am I going to do if I'm not doing this? And I know it's my life purpose. And I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. I did a ceremony, another plant medicine ceremony with another friend, and in there came an invitation to, get really emotional. Here, these are tears of love. This is what happens when Spirit really comes through. An invitation came through in that plant medicine ceremony to, will you work with women only to help the sacred feminine rise through womb awakening? And I was like, absolutely. And I'm in that now. And I feel like it's the missing piece for me and for so many women. We're just not connected to the womb. And it's our portal. I'm calling it's our treasure chest. We have a treasure chest. We're walking around, we're looking out externally to all these other things. We're doing it so much of the masculine way. It's time to do it the feminine way. Especially when we're women.
Yeah.
That's why we feel so crappy. So many people are just overwhelmed and pulled in a gazillion different directions, trying to get it all done, get their checklists done, their to-do lists, and it's to do. The do is the masculine.
And it's endless. It never ends.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So beautiful, Helen. I feel your heart. I really feel the power of this divine message. And I want to back up because I want to talk about the womb awakening and what that actually means and what has led us first. Why do we need to awaken our wombs? What is happening in the world that has kind of shut us down? Can you just give kind of an overview so we can kind of get in that energy of understanding what this power we have that's ready to be awakened.
Yeah, good question. So before patriarchy, we've been in it for 5,000 years. It's hard to believe, but the feminine was revered, honored, worshipped, because we're talking to mamas here. You all know you've created life. When we're not creating life, you are that vortex to create. It's creation. And it was all recognized with women, with men, and it was always honored because that's where the creation comes from. That's the life force. The patriarch came along and knew all this. Now there was matriarchy before patriarchy. So the men kind of felt like we feel right now towards women because we misused our power, and then it flipped over, right? And now we're in the patriarch. Now the women are, right? And now we're in this changing time to come back where they're in union, right? In union, interconnected, not one over the other, because neither of them work. But the patriarch did everything in its power to hide, destroy, judge, shame,
Burn.
Exactly. Our power, burn. Yeah. And one of the big pieces is getting women disconnected from their wombs. And womb and yoni, which is another word for vagina. Our sexual energy is very, very powerful. And do you know that we all, especially with the people that do yoga, we all talk on the chakras, we always talk about our top crown, like, oh, that's the connection to source, right? Guess where the feminine is? Feminine is in your root. That's your feminine crown. That goes deep into Mother Earth.
Yes. Oh my goodness, Ellen, I got chills because I really can see how we have been shamed out of our sexuality, of our pleasure, of our power.
Yep. Bing, bing. Those are all our divine feminine. Pleasure is a big one for the divine feminine power. And who everyone thinks sexual pleasure. Yeah, that's definitely a piece.
Right.
But pleasure in sitting in the sunshine, pleasure with eating your food, pleasure walking in nature and feeling the breeze in your hair. Really, but acknowledging it, being present with it. We're so busy doing and running and
trying to keep up with other people that we really don't, that are also trying to keep up with other. It's like a cycle. And I feel that because a lot of our mothers are like, I'm done on this hamster wheel that goes nowhere.
Yeah. And I had someone who came to ceremony 2 weeks ago, and I think she's a mother of young children, and she was asking the medicine, what's wrong with me? I have no energy. Like, help me fix. Fix is very masculine. The medicine didn't tell her, but they did tell her, but in a way that she didn't expect it. And it's absolutely brilliant. They said, you're doing his day. Everything is based around hubby's. Now, this is a lovely partner. There's nothing, right? But everything is programmed around his day. You need to design her day. Oh my gosh, when she shared that and when she realized that, she's like, wow. And they brought, like, if they want to go off skiing for the day, great. If you don't, you stay home and you potter around the house and you do whatever resonates with your feminine body.
That feels so good to me. I love puttering around the house. Just when you said, like, yes, when nobody's here, I love to putter. But I feel that so much because as mothers, a lot of us and women, we've been shown our job, and it's everyone's our responsibility, and it's our job to make sure everyone's happy.
Yep.
And I was shown that by my mother. Many people were. And so we get into this cycle where our fire is dampened because we're holding everyone else's stuff, which there really isn't any stuff to hold. We're carrying this with us, and it's really an invisible burden.
Yep. And there's this it's invisible work. Like, it's just like, oh, a mom will do that.
Oh yeah.
And hubby can be part of that. Partner can be part of that as well. It's just assumed. And it's invisible work. And that is what needs to be highlighted, boundaries put around it, and or delegation. And I think it is our work, though, to be very conscious that it's not our job to make sure everyone else is happy.
Yes.
It's their journey.
Yes.
It's their journey. I had an integration call last night. I always have integration post ceremonies, and there were some women that were struggling with some boundaries with their mom, and it was well, she, she'll get upset if I do this or that, and it's like, and you don't matter. Your day became yucky because we didn't want to hurt her feelings, or you matter too. You matter.
Yeah, I think it's just so easy to get sucked in by this old way of thinking. And what I'm hearing now, and I'm really feeling it too, Helen, all around me, all of the I just feel like something is in the air. And there really is this new way, this new message of how we can show up. So when we come into womb awakening, I want to dive into that because it is bringing the divine feminine, but because there's a divine feminine and there's a divine masculine, and it's a beautiful dance, and we have both within us, right? It's not like the men or the divine. No, we have both of it. And it's when we use too much of the masculine, right? It's almost a toxic masculine.
Right.
It becomes toxic because we're literally breaking ourselves apart by living by these unspoken or maybe spoken rules that actually aren't right.
Exactly. And we're not masculine. So it's a balance, right? We have the toxic feminine and the toxic masculine. Like Chris says, the toxic feminine is, I'm not even going to go near my emotions.
Yeah.
Right? Which lie in your womb.
Oh.
Emotions are feminine. So you think about a patriarch, guys, man up. You can't cry, right? So their feminine has been shut down, right? They've been affected in the patriarch. We're not going to go there. That's not our department, right? They've been affected in a different way by the patriarchy, but that's the toxic feminine right there of a woman who's like, oh, I'm not going near my emotions. No. And so it's finding that balance. So there's a lot of de-armoring that has to happen with womb awakening because of all the programming, societal programming. There can be a lot of shame. There can be a lot of sexual trauma. Unfortunately, that is something that the patriarch that's rampant still today, rampant. And it's time to say that's not okay. But doing the healing, right? And so if there's been sexual assault or sexual abuse, healing the trauma around that, because what it does is it builds like armor. So as we call it, de-armoring the womb, around the womb, so that you can access your full treasure, your full power, that full pleasure, your intuition. Another one that has been annihilated by the patriarch. Oh, you can't listen to your intuition. You're just imagining that.
I just want to sit in that for a moment because we've been talking a lot about that on this podcast, is how we connect to our intuition. And we really have, that's been broken within us. Because we've been shown not to trust ourselves, that to kind of put our masks and our armor on in order to be a certain way, we adjust ourselves in order for people to view us a certain way. I mean, it's just a big illusion if you think about it. But there's this, like you said, this connection with the divine, with spirit, that's already there. There's nothing we have to do to get it. It's already there. But it takes trust, and it takes a lot of deprogramming, a lot of belief systems. And like you said, we hold all of this in our body. Yep. In our energetic field, right? And so it takes something, and that's why I love plant medicine in so many ways. Can you kind of give us of what you've experienced, because you've held ceremonies for many people with plant medicine? What have you seen that how it helps help people heal?
Ooh, oh my goodness. Well, that's ceremony with men and women up until now. But Spirit was like, this last one wasn't just for women, but it just organically, coincidentally, became all women. And the alchemy that happens when you get a bunch of women together in a safe place, with a common intention for healing and transformation and connecting to their inner essence. What I witnessed was like beyond what I've ever seen in other ceremonies. And I was like, okay, it's going to be only women from this here on out. But we did an exercise, the medicines guide me. And in integration the next morning, I was guided to have every woman say an adjective or a word for each woman, that has how they saw them the day before in ceremony. And ceremony is a place where you get vulnerable. And the words and they shared them with me as well. We've got all of them now. And the women said, wow, I felt seen for the first time. I don't think anybody has shared those kinds of words with me. And so there was a real being seen. So many women don't feel seen or heard. And so that was one big piece. There was another big piece around the mother wound, really getting to a place of compassion, forgiveness and compassion with the mother. We all, probably not all, many of us had not had the mother we wanted.
Right.
But we did. We chose our mother for whatever lessons we have for this lifetime. So there was a lot of expanding into forgiveness and compassion. Another one was anger. A lot of women have anger with what's happened to us. We have grief and anger, and those things need to come out. Otherwise they fester in us. But we're some women are so closed down. Like, no, I can't, there's all the, what we get, you're a bitch, you're crazy, you're all these things that come at us when we get angry. But anger is very powerful when you use it creatively. And so these women were expressing this past 2 weeks in ceremony, anger has showed up. And they have used it in a very transformative way. One woman, she's a professor, she had some disruptive students, and she wouldn't have said anything in the past, but this anger that erupted when she was talking to her mother the day before came out in a very beautiful way that she went and spoke to these, said, we're not having any of that. And one of them apologized immediately, and the other one took a little bit, but she got there. And she's like, and she felt empowered. And so those are just some of the things. That's so good.
It's so good. And the two things is what I really feel and what I really connect with. Two things is, one is the compassion, forgiveness. I think what these ceremonies do, and when you move into this type of healing, is you realize that everyone is in the human condition. And we're all products of our parents, of their parents, of their parents, of their parents. It goes on and on and on and on. And so it's like, you kind of realize like, we're all suffering differently in some way. And so it kind of helps us become that oneness, and so you can have compassion for your mother or the people that have traumatized you. And that's hard. It's hard to do that, and that forgiveness. And so you get to clear that space so that you can emerge. And these emotions, I love that you said that. Anger, it's like, we're here to feel. Yes. We're here to express, and we're here to move it and then move on, not just hide it and bury it and just let it burn in us. And so that's what I'm feeling is it's really for us to awaken, we must move that latent energy so that we can be fully expressed and fully open. And the womb, I love that as a treasure chest. I really feel that, is it specifically in the area of our body, or can you just talk a little bit more so that we can understand why our womb needs to be awakened?
It's if you've ever seen a picture of the womb and a chalice used in church, a lot of churches, they look very similar.
Interesting.
It's this is your power center. It's sort of like saying, why is the heart the center of love, right? But this is where our divine feminine lies. It's our creativity, it's our emotions. Sexual energy, that's what lies in there. And within that is also the intuition, because tied to the intuition, this is a good one, is your clitoris, right? We think of third eye here. Yes, that's one of the areas, but your clitoris, does anyone talk about that? It's just the area, the whole area.
And I'm just going to notice my friends who are listening, if there's shame that arises when we even say that word.
Yep.
Right? Because we automatically feel uncomfortable. What is that? It is the most pleasurable power center of our body, or it can be. And it has so much power in it, but we kind of like shut down around it. I noticed it when you said, I was like, oh, but I noticed it. And I'm like, no, this is faked.
Yeah. That's the stuff. That's the de-armoring. Because little kids, we can't name you, all these girls have little names for their genitals, right? I don't use the word vagina because that too is not the proper, it's like a piece of, the patriarchy did that. So I'm like, and so there's just so much shaming. And I think I've lived abroad for many years. My parents are European, and the Americans on top of that, like this puritanical stuff, You go to France or Spain, they're just, it's you go sunbathing topless. It's just like no big deal. There's nudist beaches all over the place in France, right? They're very comfortable with their bodies. People here, particularly women, are not comfortable with their bodies. I was bulimic for 10 years, hated my body. I've done a lot of work around that. No longer bulimic, and I love my body.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's so sad because we're here to live, express, and create in our bodies. Yet when we shut it down, that's how you control. And we've been controlled, and we will no longer be controlled. We are stepping into our power, and we are rising up, and we don't have time for this crap anymore.
We
Like,
don't.
we
And
don't.
you brought up a really good point. We need to be in our body because that's another one. A lot of women are disconnected from their bodies and they ignore their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
You're in pain. It's trying to tell you got anxiety. You got whatever. It's telling you something. Something is out of balance.
Yes.
The body knows before the mind does.
Yeah.
And so it's time to honor that, come back into the body and let it teach you. But yeah, it's the shame and the judgment around our yoni, our womb, our bum is massive. And so that's part of what the work that I'm doing now, because it's time, as I say, it's time.
Yeah, it's time. I really do feel that rise of that energy and that power. And even in the women I see and that I've been connected to, I've just sensed there's something really happening here. And it's so fun to witness. Even with my conversations on the podcast, I just feel that there's just a certain power to them recently. I just love it so much because what we get to do as a collective of women and hippie moms and women all over is we get to step into that power. And it takes something, Helen. It takes something to step into that because we have to break down the identity and the beliefs and the things that we've kind of built our life around to be the robots, but we're not freaking robots.
No, we're not.
Divine, creative, beautiful femininity, just ready to burst. So you're doing these womb awakening retreats, and you also do really beautiful microdosing, intuitive microdosing classes. Let's touch on that for a minute. And this is psilocybin.
Yep.
Yep. So you teach that, and I would love to kind of talk around that. So if someone hears something like, I'm interested in that, we can make sure we put them in contact with you.
Yeah. So that's it's another beautiful way to work. Part of the divine feminine rising is the beautiful medicines from Mother Earth. There's a renaissance of plant medicines happening right now. And microdosing is a beautiful way to start to get to know a medicine if you're not familiar with it. And it's the ones that I teach. Microdosing is actually psilocybin with ceremonial cacao. Because ceremonial cacao, the cacao is also beautiful heart medicine. And that's what I started with. And then Spirit said, okay, now add the psilocybin. So I teach microdosing both of them. First of all, it tastes delicious and they work synergistically. So the ceremonial cacao highlights the psilocybin. So with intuitive microdosing, there's lots of different protocols. If you hop online, there's lots of different protocols, 5 days on, 2 days off, every other day, right? Different amounts. The strains are all different. And so what I teach is how to find the protocol that works for you according to your lifestyle and the amount. I work with a lot of highly sensitive people and empaths. And I find not always, but a lot of times they don't need as much as somebody else. And so it's finding the amount that works for you and guiding everybody. Okay, now go off, microdose for a week, come back a week later, and let's hear what happened. And you learn from each other because everybody's different. And this is why I do intuitive microdosing, because the amounts are different, the times of day that you want to take it, the number of times you want to take it, all sorts of different, there's so many different aspects that play into it. So you just have that support. And I just really coach and guide through, and then you go away for another 2 weeks, you microdose, and then come back, with your information. My goal is to find the sweet spot where you really feel comfortable. Yeah. And it's really just a sense of well-being.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I really experienced with microdosing, because I, just in working with you and being in ceremony, like I really got that my body will tell me, and so it's like I kind of get to like take the burden off and just listen. And that there'll be a couple of days where I do another, and then maybe like a week or two that I don't. And I just listen. There's no attachment to it. but the state of well-being, creativity, connection to oneself, nature, it kind of helps you take off that veil, that big, like you're wearing really dark, muddy glasses, and you get to like clean them off, and you're like, oh, life isn't that bad.
Yeah.
And you get to connect with that, which then infuses a new perspective in the way of seeing things.
Yeah. And I hear from people more focus,
Yeah.
more joy. It really can help with depression and anxiety to help shift that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Which I wish, and I'm so glad that more states are legalizing it. There's so much studies around it that it's such a much better, I believe, in my opinion, medicine than going down. I mean, the pharmaceuticals, which are never ever created to actually help you heal. And two, they cannot be used long term because they're really not great for your liver and overall health. And three, there's no reason to get you off of it because they don't want you off of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's why they made this medicine illegal.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
But
Yeah.
thank
London.
goodness we're seeing some change around that. We really are. And that's why I think it was so, when we talked about it, I really wanted to provide our hippie moms a resource like you, because a lot of us aren't going to know how to intuitive microdose. They're not going to know who to call or what to do. So it was really important for me to have you, Helen, on so that these women can begin to have a resource if that's something that they want to do.
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Helen. So you have a free gift for our community.
I do. As I said, I do work with a lot of highly sensitive people and empaths, but this gift is good for anybody as well. They're energy protection tools. It's just a guided meditation. It'll take you 5 minutes, but it really just sets your energy. You put on a grounding cord, you're connecting to beautiful Mother Earth. You clear out your auric field. Because what happens, especially when we're highly sensitive, is we can get bombarded with take on somebody else's energy. You go into the supermarket or your kids, whatever, and you can get like glommed up with other people's energy.
Yeah.
And so putting energy protection tools just like cleans out your auric field. It's like putting it through the washing machine, and it's all about sparkly and clean. And then you're ready for your day. And there's things that you put up to just, if you are in company of other people that are a little heavy with their energy, that it just goes into these protection roses and not into you. And then and you put them on every day. And as I say, for me as a highly sensitive one, I do not go through a day without putting them on. And it really, we can't see them in the 3D, but they're there and they work.
Yes. I mean, yes, if people really understood that we see such a very tiny little smidge amount of what actually exists and that we live in pretty much all space, if you really get that, I mean, just the intention of putting protection on yourself, it works. It works. And if you're just like, I don't know, just try it.
Yeah.
Be open to it, because these are, I really believe how these are tools. These are ancient ways of being that have been hidden from us that are now coming up. And that's why I think the Renaissance with the plant medicines, with more and more people like you speaking up and speaking out and sharing their gifts, because this is where we're headed. We're headed into the truth that we are limitless. We are infinite. We are boundless. We're not bound to this body. We are so much more than that. We're not robots.
Multidimensional.
Multidimensional. We really are. And when we get on board with that, oh man, does life get fun, doesn't it? Because you can really say, this is not for me to take care of. Spirit, you got this. Thank you. And I get to go free and I get to play and I get to have fun, because all the things we worry about, all the things we stress about never does anything for us. Right.
Yep.
So
feel crappy.
yeah. And I'm done feeling crappy. I'm ready to awaken my womb and I'm ready to step into that power. So you'll have retreat information on your website too for people that are hearing this and like, oh, okay.
Yep. That's on my page as well. And we'll have an online program as well coming up.
Perfect. Oh my goodness. Wonderful. Well, and that's good too, you guys. If you get into the free gifts, then you'll be updated with all these beautiful offerings from Helen. So just make sure you get into her vortex so that you can experience the magic that has been shared today. So Thank you, Helen.
Thank you, Becky. It's been so fun.
It's so fun. I just enjoyed this conversation so much, and I can't wait to have you back. And I appreciate you. And thank you, everyone, for being here. We will catch you on the next Hippie Moms podcast. And don't forget to go to the show notes. We'll see you soon. Bye.